Good evening. Good evening, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well. I am RC Blakes. If this is your first time checking out my channel, I am a man, I'm a pastor, I'm an author, and I'm a student of life. And I love talking about things relative to life and to people. And so I have a few minutes tonight that I want to just kind of share. I don't really have a regular schedule on here. I kind of do it when I have the time to do it. And so tonight I just felt compelled to talk about this subject. That's not love. That's not love. That is not love. And if I get a little animated, it's just because I'm passionate and I really care. I get a lot of conversation in airports. I get a lot of conversation relative to email, at church, whatever, letters in the mail, snail mail, about people that are physically abusive, emotionally abusive, financially abusive, disrespectful, and then at the end of the discourse, the victim is saying, "But I love him," or "I love her," or "I know they love me. They just need to change. They just need to grow. If they could only talk to you, if I could set up something for them to talk to you, things would be better." Let me tell you something. That's not love. And there's no sense in you wasting your time and mine, because if their creator cannot change their heart, if their mama can't change their heart, you can't change it, and I don't have time to try to work on it. That's not love. I want to look at some toxic concepts, some false toxic concepts of love. And why is it that we fall into these modes where, thank you for the likes. Thank you for posting that. I need as many likes as I can get. I want my channel to grow so that I can impact more people and do more. It's just good common sense, isn't it? The reasoning behind our having these false attachments that we call love, these toxic, self-destructive attachments that we call love, I was just sitting and pondering, and these are just thoughts I have that I jotted down so that I could talk to you about it tonight. But when I thought about it, false concepts of love are probably the greatest detriment to human relationships. It's the false concepts of love that open us up to people like the narcissist. It's the false concepts of love that make us gullible for users and abusers. These false concepts of love. When a child, in particularly a daughter, and this is a firm belief of mine. I have 3 daughters. And I've written a book, The Father-Daughter Talk. And that book was written out of the revelation that I got that when a girl does not have the sufficient affirmation from a father and the attention from a father, the innocent affections of a father, what happens is she grows up, she becomes a young woman, and she's searching for that affection. She's searching for that affirmation. And what happens is the world teaches her. Now, she needs this. This is a need in the young girl. This is a need in her. And when her father has not fulfilled that need, either he was physically absent, just was not a part of her life, or he was physically present, financially present, but just did not have the intelligence, the relational intelligence to understand how much his daughter needed his emotional deposit. And so he did the best he could do. He did what they taught him, and they taught most men, the boys are your job, the girls are mama's job. And so most fathers with their daughters just kind of pay the bills, hang around, make certain that you're physically protected and that you're provided for, and never really provide the affirmation that a young girl needs. But it's a need. And so when she comes of age and she becomes a young woman, she is searching for the affirmation, and she's searching for the affections that she should have gotten from her father, but she's searching for it now in the arms, in the eyes, in the grasp of men. And most of these men that she would meet in life only serve to pervert her. And so she's trained, watch this, that love is sex, that love is abuse, that love, so forth and so on. And so she begins to develop these false concepts. And even a young man, when you think about a young man whose father's not present, when I really start to look at this, I begin to realize that the presence of a father, the presence of a healthy father in the lives of children, male and female alike, is more important than we realize, because even the sons develop their concept of love based on the example laid down by their fathers, either the good example or the bad example or the non-example. If the father's not present to give the son a positive and healthy and biblical example of what love is, the son then takes his cues from the world. If the father's present and the father is not loving the mother properly, the father's an abuser, a cheater, a liar, so forth and so on, the son simply becomes what he's seen. But when the father's present and the father is sufficiently and positively and effectively loving the mother, the son now has a point of reference that even if he enters into the world and he follows another path, in the back of his mind, he realizes that he's a hypocrite, because this was not what he learned about manhood and how men are to love. So when I think about it, our presence as men, as dudes, as kings, is not only vital to the elevation of our young queens. Thank you, Pamela. But our presence as kings is as much vital to the development of our young kings. There's a heavy weight and responsibility on our shoulders as men. So when a child has either not had an example of paternal acceptance and affection, what happens is it distorts the judgment in adulthood. And so now you grow up and you develop all of these false, self-defeating, self-degrading concepts of what love is. And there are four things that I want to mention tonight. Number one, when you find yourself caught up in something like this, many times it's simply a trauma bond. It's not love. How can you tell me that this is love between you and this person that physically abuses you, that disrespects, dishonors, humiliates you, bankrupts you, drags you through the street, how can you call this love? It's not love. In a lot of cases, it's a trauma bond. And a trauma bond or traumatic bonding occurs, listen to this, as the result of ongoing cycles. Queen, know who I am, thank you. Traumatic bonding occurs as the result of ongoing cycles of abuse in which the intermittent reinforcement of reward and punishment creates powerful emotional bonds that are resistant to change. Now, what does that mean? All of that I just read. What it means is when you are in a situationship with a professional abuser, That abuser will abuse you and hurt you and hurt you and hurt you. And just about the time you get to the point that you're at your breaking point or you about to check out on this thing, they will switch the game and they'll be everything you desire. They'll be your knight in shining armor. They'll be your dream girl. They will abuse, 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 abuse. And just about the time you're getting ready to break, they will become the ideal mate. And this cycle continues and it continues and it continues. And what it does is it creates what is called a trauma bond. You're bound to this person because I think some of the psyche that is working against your own freedom is you're thinking that, okay, number one, you lose a lot of years in this kind of relationship. And so one of the things that works in the back of the mind of a person who's caught up in this kind of situation is, I've given so many years to this. When I started this, I was young. Now I have gray hair. When I started this, I was, 30 pounds lighter. Now I'm heavier. And so you put so much time in and you keep wishing upon a star. And it's like, maybe this is the time that he apologizes and it's for real. Because I know he has to really love me. Why would he spend this much time with me? It's because many times he can spend this time with you. He can use your money. He can go all about the neighborhood and use other people too. And got all of y'all caught up in a trauma bond. And the Bible puts it this way in Proverbs 13 and 12. Hope deferred makes the heart sick, but when the desire is fulfilled, it is a tree of life. When the person is denied, the trauma breaks the heart. When a person is hoping and wishing and wishing and wishing and wishing and saying, we could have such a great thing, and they're constantly denied the kind of relationship they know and believe they could have or think they believe they could have with this person, it breaks the heart. When they are reinforced with, good treatment at certain points, it breathes life into the bond and then the cycle starts again. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Donnie. Or Danny, I hope I'm saying it right. He says, hope deferred makes the heart sick. When I withhold from you what you really desire in this relationship, it makes your heart sick. It makes your soul sick. But when the desire is fulfilled, when I give you a little bit of what you think you want, it's a tree of life. And in this case, it's breathing life into the bond. It's a false fruit that this person produces from time to time just to keep you what? Attached. So it's not love. It's a trauma bond. And some of you that are watching me right now, you have been through this cycle over and over again, over and over again. Constantly, this person is abusing you. And then just about the time you're ready to walk out the door, they become just, I just love you so much. And, they become just the ideal. And now, Number two, so that's not love. What I just mentioned, that's not love. Number two, second reason that we engage in these false toxic concepts of love is because of the fear of individuality. We don't want to be alone. One of the greatest fears known to man is the fear of being alone. We don't want to be alone. And when you think about it, how sick our society is, we sexualize children entirely too early. When you start looking at the way the clothes they're making for young kids now, adolescent kids, 10, 11, 12 years old. I mean, it's like grown woman stuff, the stuff that we have on these children are sexualized way too early. So they're engaging in these, what I consider to be inappropriate romantic relationships with other young kids, way too early. And so they never really, their brains never formulate individuality. We are conditioned from little kids to be joined to someone before we ever really figure out who we are. And society reinforces this message that if you don't have somebody, something wrong with you. To the point that little kids in school, in fifth, sixth grade, talking about, well, who you going with? Who's your boyfriend? Who's your girlfriend? You ain't got no boyfriend. You ain't got no girl. So the concept of individuality, figuring out myself, figuring out who I am, what my dreams are, what my goals are, all of that stuff is out of the window now because society has pushed us into a people who must be joined to someone to feel like we're valuable. And so there's this, tremendous fear of being an individual. And the idea of, like some of you watching me right now, you have not had an extended period of alone time since you were a young teenager. Some of you younger than that. You have been connected to somebody romantically, sexually, since you were a very young person. And now some of you are in your 30s, your 40s, and your 50s, and you can't really recall a season in your life where you had 6 months to a year by yourself. You even filled those spaces with people that you knew were not any good for your life, but you'd rather be with the wrong person than to be by yourself. You'd rather be miserable with the wrong person than to learn to be happy by yourself as an individual. And that is a driving force behind why we engage in these false toxic concepts of love. And we promote it amongst our friends and in our circle like we have just the greatest thing since ice cream. And the reality is, that this is garbage you got here. This is garbage. The way this dude is talking to you, this is garbage. But you are so afraid. Your consciousness is so broken. You cannot imagine waking up and not being attached. You just cannot imagine going to your Facebook page and putting on your status single. You got to have in a relationship. Or best you're going to do is it's complicated. You do not want to have to put up on your Facebook profile that you are single. That is a curse word. Nobody wants to be single. Nobody wants to be an individual. And so quite often you're attached to a person because you're afraid to be alone. It's not love. It's the fear of individuality. It's the fear of not fitting in. It's the fear of being viewed by society as a misfit. Because anybody that's an individual today is a misfit. Especially if you're a woman and you don't have a man, you are a misfit. If you're a dude and you don't have a woman and you really engaged in, your self-discovery, your relationship with God, and the elevation of your career, and you constantly, that's what you're talking about. People keep asking you, well, who you going out with? Who you dating? And you're not sleeping around with people, and you say nobody. Eventually, they're going to call you a homosexual. That's how sick this society is. If a man is engaged in self-discovery, loves God, and is working on building his business and or his brand, thank you so much. The world is going to call him, eventually the world is going to call him a homosexual. Right? That's just the truth. Because the world frowns on individuality. If you're a woman and you don't have a man, she must be a lesbian. She ain't got no man. She ain't got no man. If you discover you're not a lesbian, something must be wrong with her. Something must be wrong with her. And so for fear of being labeled, fear of not fitting in, You stick with something that in your soul is not healthy and is not right and is beneath you, but you dare not adjust or readjust your life in a fashion that goes against the norm. You're living for society. You're living for society. You're not even living for you. You just keep people around. You hold on to stuff that you should have been trashed because society says without a relationship as a woman, you're devalued. And the Bible says in Romans 12:2, and this is the Message Bible version, it says, don't become so well adjusted to your culture. You're doing it for the culture. You're maintaining a ridiculous situationship that's breaking you on every side. You're doing it for the culture. But the Bible says don't become so well adjusted to your culture that you fit into it without even thinking. Instead, fix your attention on God. You'll be changed from the inside out. Readily recognize what He wants from you and quickly respond to it. Unlike the culture around you, always dragging you down to its level of immaturity. God brings the best out of you, develops well-formed maturity in you. You got to stop living your life trying to conform to the world and be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And when your mind gets renewed, it brings you into what? Individuality. Nietzsche says this: the individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe. If you try it, you will be lonely often and sometimes frightened. But no price is too high to pay for the privilege of owning yourself. That's Nietzsche. So some of y'all stuck in these situations with these people that should have never even been able to get a conversation with you. That's how beneath you they are. And some folk don't like me talking like that, but that's just the way I feel like saying it. That's how beneath you they are. They should have never even gotten a conversation with you. And now you've let them in your life, and now you holding on to them because you don't know how to be by yourself. This is a great time to learn. This is a great time to learn how to be by yourself. And watch this, not only how to be by yourself, but how to be happy by yourself. How to be fulfilled by yourself. Because what you got going on now, that ain't love. That ain't love. You fooling yourself. That ain't love. But this stuff you carrying on, this people you got sleeping up in your house, that ain't love. That's just fear of individuality. That's a trauma bond. That's what you're working with. And then number three, third thing that keeps us attached to toxic, dysfunctional concepts of love, and I'm just about done. If you all can share this, share it. Those of you who've not, I got about 700 people in here. I got 200 likes. I need y'all to push that up for me. It makes my videos trend better. Number three, attachment to the familiar. You're calling it love, but the reality is that you're just attached to what you're familiar with. You've been engaged with this so long, this has just become a bad habit. It's what you're familiar with. It's far less than you deserve, but it's what you're familiar with. And so rather than, why try something new, even though what I'm working with is not satisfying me? Isn't that strange? Why should I try something new, even though I'm not fulfilled? I'm miserable in what I got, but it's better than nothing. And at least I know this, situation here. When dysfunction has been the only norm, perceived alternatives are difficult. See, it's difficult for you to perceive that the few relationships you may see that are healthy and wholesome and productive can be yours. because all you ever known was having a man that don't want work, having a man that doesn't even have a decent conversation. You can't even discuss your career thoughts and challenges and moves. All you got is a body in the bed. That's all you got. You don't have no brains. You don't have a paycheck. He ain't got no God in him. He can't even help you. Or you can flip that coin. You the dude, and you got this woman there, but this is all you've ever known. She ain't got no conversation. There's nothing worse than to have a man who's a visionary with a woman that he can't even hold a conversation with. She just popping gum and painting her nails a different color every other day and changing her hair color 4 times a week and all this kind of stuff. And you sitting there, you can't even bring her to your office party. She can't represent you. You can't bring her to church with you. She don't know how to behave. I mean, but you stick with this because you have an attachment to the familiar. And so you haven't really figured out how to do your life without this, situation. It's like it's not good for you, but there's a part of you. The Apostle Paul said, when I would do good, evil's present. When the stuff I want to do, I don't do. The stuff I don't want to do is the stuff I'm doing. When the mind gets poisoned, when toxins enter the soul, it confuses the life in ways that are just simply unbelievable. But when you have an attachment to the familiar, it's like a gravitational pull that when you would go in, a healthy direction, it pulls you back into what is familiar, even when what is familiar has never proven to be healthy or productive. And I was thinking about this, and I thought about the children of Israel, how God pulled them out of slavery. And God was delivering them, bringing them through the promised land, bringing them through the wilderness to the promised land. And when they got there, they realized that they had struggles. They had to, they had a fight on their hands to become the kings that God ordained them to be. But when they got out there, they were so familiar with slavery that they begged to go back to slavery because it was familiar. And in Numbers 14:3-4, it says, and wherefore hath the Lord brought us unto this land to fall by the sword. They in the promised land, but they're like, we ain't ready for this. That our wives and our children should be a prey. Were it not better for us to return into Egypt? And they said one to another, let us make a captain and let us return into Egypt. They wanted to leave from bossing in their own land to go back to the familiarity of being a slave in Pharaoh's land. And see, that's where some of you are. You just have an attachment to the familiar. It ain't love. It ain't love. You just have an attachment to the familiar. It ain't love. And in some cases, you have such a strong attachment to the familiar that God will bring the right kind of person that will honor you into your life, into your circle, into your world. And you know what you will do? You will sabotage it just to get back to the familiar. Because after all you've ever known was being a slave. All you've ever known was, being a side chick. All you've ever known was being a woman that's constantly promised we're going to bring it to the next level, giving out all of these husband privileges to a boyfriend, not even a man friend, a boyfriend. That's all you've ever known. So a man come into your world and say, hey, I want to honor you. I'm ready to buy a ring. We'll set a date. I'm ready to make you wife material. I already see it. You sabotage that. Something strange about him. And make your way right on back to this clown that's going to continue to abuse you and use up all your best years. Because that's what you're familiar with. You're attached to the familiar. That's why your mama can't talk you out of it. That's why your best friends can't. You done cut off people that you need in your life, trying to hold on to this joke of a relationship. I just feel like talking like this tonight. I tried to be a little more dignified and a little more, but I just feel like talking. You have cut off people that you need. Holding on to a joke of a relationship. You got a clown of a man you parading up and down the street talking about my man. Your man don't have a job. Your man he don't even have a credit score. It's so low. He ain't got no score. Because he ain't in the system. But you attach to the what? Familiarity. Thank you, Sabrina. So I can, you sit and you watch all my videos and you watch all the stuff I say and you go back and look at some of them old videos where I was really out the box. Because when I did those videos, I was basically talking to the women of my church. And I was talking to them like a pastor would talk to his members. You're making a fool out yourself. But you don't change. You watch all this, you don't change. You won't send me all these long emails, but you don't want change. Because you have an attachment to the familiar, even if the familiar is a dog. And then you let this dog use up 10, 15, 20 years of your life. Then you want to become bitter and then get on here and say all men are dogs. Why are you watching me if all men are dogs? All men are not no dogs. You just familiar with dogs. And you have an attachment to your familiarity. Don't call me no dog. I'm not no dog. Thank you, Tasha. And you won't blame the world. See, you make all of these old crazy, wild, bogus decisions about this old, trash of a so-called relationship. And then you want to, thank you, Larita, then you want to blame the world for your decisions. And you won't keep sitting there listening to me crying and all this, but you don't want to make no changes. And you talking about, I love him. I love him. What's wrong with your brain to even open your mouth and say you love somebody that treats you like this person treats you? You need to stop saying I love this. You should at least say something wrong with me. I need to go get some help. Because for some reason I'm bound to this individual and I don't understand. But don't say I love something. You look okay. You don't look right. But it's not love. It's an attachment to the familiar. Calm down, RC. Calm down. Whew, Lord have mercy. And number 4, and I'm out. I know some of y'all, thank all of y'all for that are contributing. I never asked for that, so it's always like, overwhelming when I see y'all doing that because I've never asked for it. And I really, thank you. Number 4, you got a soul tie. Thank you. You got a soul tie. It's not love, babe. You got a soul tie. And a soul tie is basically, here's what a soul tie is. A soul tie is another person. It's a demonic attachment to another person that allows that person, usually but not exclusively through, but usually through sexual relationships, illicit sexual relations that have nothing to do with covenant. It allows this person to reach into your spirit and steer your life at will. You can say, I'm done, I'm finished. They know they can put up a post of a certain picture on Facebook and they know by 10:30, 10:45, 11 o'clock at the latest, you're going to be calling because you got a soul tie. You calling it love. Love does not manipulate and control. Love does not move you in a direction that is unhealthy for you. Love does not move you in a direction that disagrees with your spiritual, biblical principles. Love doesn't do that. Thank you, Pauline. Love doesn't do that. It ain't love you got, babe. It's a soul tie. You got yourself a soul tie. You got yourself a soul tie. You know how you just got these people running in and out your house. You got babies in your house, and you got people running in your house doing things with your children up in the house. That's a soul tie. You know how a person can go and have somebody else and be all over social media, not even doing a good job of trying to hide it from you. Be all over social media and come blowing your ear and tell you something, and they know they're gonna get you to hang in there and stick right there with them. You ain't going nowhere, and you keep saying, you done said for 25 times, thank you, Pauline, you've said 25 times, you do it again, you do it again. They laugh at you now because you got a soul tie. And see, demonic men as well as women create soul ties with you intentionally, and you don't even realize what's going on. That's really the game. And see, you got women stringing dudes out. Now you got dudes strung out by some rough women out here now. Women have learned the game, and they using the game on dude. Get your nose all wide open, and you know, you just like a puppet. Got your soul tied. And the Bible says in Proverbs 7, I got to go, y'all, 21 through 23, says, with her much fast speech, she caused him to yield. Read the full context. Read the whole story in Proverbs there. This is a woman who seduced a man. And the Bible says, with her much fair speech, she caused him to yield. With the flattering of her lips, she forced him. He goeth after her straightway. He got a soul tie now. As an ox goeth to the slaughter, or as a fool to the correction of the stocks, till a dart strike through his liver, as a bird hasteth to the snare, and knoweth not that it is for his life. Got a soul tie now. And he running behind this woman, not understanding that this is going to cost him his life. And see, this stuff you call love, that ain't love. It's a soul tie. You dealing with a soul tie, babe. And I know your next question, well, I'll get rid of it. I got a whole playlist on YouTube about soul ties. I wrote a whole book about it. You need to read it. I can't tell you how to get rid of it now. One thing I will tell you is that you're gonna have to create that you keep in you can't keep them in your bed and get them out your head. Boy, I'm spitting bars tonight. You can't keep them in your bed and get them out your head. You can't keep them in your bed and get them out your head. Yeah. Bottom line. And it ain't no methadone to kick this habit. You got to go cold turkey. And you know what happens when you make up your mind that you're going to get this soul tie relationship out of your life? You know what happens? God steps into the situation and he gives you the power to do what you could not do on your own. The only reason God hadn't gotten involved at this point is because you have not been serious yet. You keep on playing in and out, in and out. You ain't serious about nothing. When you make up your mind that I'm going to get my life together and I'm not going to be sitting around here allowing somebody that should have never even had a conversation with me to ruin the rest of my life. And I am not going to be sitting up in here like somebody strung out on crack over a man that don't even have a job. Okay. I got to go. I love y'all. Thank y'all for giving me your time tonight. Thank y'all, because I feel myself going there. I got to leave it alone now. I'm trying to be a little more, polite in my approach. And so I'm trying to be a little more sophisticated and not use as much of the 504, the New Orleans approach to things. But you see, in New Orleans, there's a certain way you got to talk to certain kind of people. And so I had to realize that I'm talking to the world and that everybody don't, some people get a little nervous when you raise your voice. But You get the point. Father, I thank you for this time tonight that I've had with your people. I pray with all of my heart that you will allow this message to resonate. Allow this message to resonate. Allow lives to be changed and minds to be shifted in Jesus' name. Amen. Listen, don't forget to go by Amazon, pick up my books. Getting ready to, just finished Kingology, the male companion to Queenology, and getting ready to drop that for pre-sale. I was supposed to do it this week, but some things held up, but it'll be dropping any day now for pre-sale. And it'll be a great aid for those of you, even single mothers who have young sons whose fathers are not present. It'll be a great companion. It'll be a great addition to whatever you're using to raise your boys. Also, I hope you've heard that we are not coming to London on March the 27th. We're postponing it due to all of this coronavirus that's happening at this time presently. At the filming of this, this is 2020. But I do plan on, my prayers that God will clear this up and that we can revisit London this summer. Those of you that registered, you should have something in your email for a complete refund for your registration fee. If not, just reach out to Lisa and I at pastorrcblakes@gmail.com. Also, those of you who may be struggling with issues, I say all the time that I'm not a counselor, and that's important to me because I see so many people on social media and on YouTube who offer, their services as counselors, and they don't have any credentials, and that troubles me. That bothers me. I think it's it's a lack of integrity to offer yourself and to charge people to counsel them, and you have no credentials, and you're not honest about it. I'm not a counselor. I'm a pastor. And I'm a man, and I have ideas about life, and my ideas are usually biblically based. But I'm not personally a licensed counselor. And some of you need licensed counselors. You need more than just biblical counseling. So if you're that person, you'll see in the description a link to a group called BetterHelp. And this is a group that has been vetted. I think it's the largest online counseling service in the world, if I'm not mistaken. And you'll have a counselor available, a licensed counselor or therapist available 24 hours a day. So whenever you need that conversation, they'll be there. And I've gotten some great reports from some who have tried them. And if you're there and you're saying, I just need somebody to talk to, but I can't go to a physical location, this may be perfect for you. So, just hit the link and look at it. And if it's something that works for you, praise God. Well, I love you all. Somebody said you have the gift of counselorship. I believe that, but it would be a lack of integrity to promote myself as that. And then another thing, even if I did have the credentials, I don't always have the time to be able to do justice, So that's why I was glad. You've never seen me partner with anybody. A lot of people have over the years come and say, well, we'd like to partner with you, but none of it resonated. None of it aided my mission. But when these people came, I said, oh, this is perfect, because a lot of the people that I talk to need counseling. And I can't always provide it. So yeah, that's why. So the link is in the description. I don't think there's anything else. I'm sure there are a lot of things we could talk about. Those of you who've not checked out my online programs, Transcending the Father Wound, for those of you who are struggling with, having grown up without your father's presence, physically or emotionally, Transcending the Father Wound be a great program. Online program for you. Queenology speaks for itself. And then we have Wisdom for Women in Ministry. as a program, a Sisters Winning in Ministry. 3 online programs that I've done. Go to rcblakes.com, look under online programs, and you can kind of see. And all of my programs are really nothing, quite honestly. Cost nothing when you start looking at what other people charge for stuff like that. Absolutely nothing. So I love you. I'm out of here. I got to go. But I love y'all. Praying for you. And give me some more thumbs and share this if you don't mind. God bless you. I love you all. Have a great one.